getting more, because we don't have to approve anything today. It's again, we're just discussing. One idea was, should it go to out to advisory committee themselves? So we are far from, we're 9 months away from when we need to really have it in place. So it's more of what else to think about.
Yeah, for
Director Rocha.
Yeah, thank you. No, I appreciate that. I think for me, I don't want to leave anything up to chance. And I feel that specifically outlining municipal well operators, disadvantaged communities in housing, agriculture, environmental, county and city government ensures that no matter what, those groups will be represented in the advisory committee. And I just don't see how this GSA can operate without having someone from those 5 demographics represented. And I don't want to leave that up to chance.
Well, it's in our JPA. It's not, that is called out.
But there is a potential for it not to happen with the 3 nominated seats from the board, plus the 12 sub-basin implementation committees. I think what Director Church was getting at was that it could be ag, environment, and then we're left up when we have to make the 3 appointments.
Well, you as a board, you cannot appoint those people. You have too many of them. You have the full right saying we're not getting what we need. Therefore, I'm not appointing this late. Go back committee and send me somebody new because we need to fill this seat. So, and we have to.
I would say that then that puts the board in a position to have to make those kinds of uncomfortable decisions, when in reality it could just be structured in a way to where that happens on its own. And I don't think that a jump from 17 from 5 is too much of a difference, and still accomplishes the goal that we have of reducing the size of the committee while ensuring representation from each of the necessary stakeholder groups. So I still support the motion that I've made. I appreciate it's been seconded, and I think that for me, at least, that's the direction I'd like to go on this.
We are doing motion for, that's not a recommendation. We only need direction today. We're not approving the makeup the advisory committee because we're not quite there. We need then changes in charter and bylaws. This is just to have general discussion of where we want to take it. So it was not brought to you to make a final recommendation on the size and seat makeup.
Sure. Go ahead, Director Church.
And I know we discussed this during the executive committee, and I'm a little bit going to pull it back, but it's just after some thought onto it and put it together. I just say my concern is that, and I understand, Perrette, you're suggesting there's alternates out there, but alternates are, diversity in alternates isn't the same as diversity on primaries. And for an advisory committee to be out there and for it to look and to be separate from us as well and broader into the community, I think we just have to ensure that diversity. For me, a key part to have on here, which Director Rocha didn't suggest and is in here, is really somebody that's representing those rural, independent owners or those small water systems. There's 1,500 water systems around, just about within this, pretty darn close to this, to maybe 1,000 within this GSA. It's a lot of people, and it's and even they are operating on a different level than what they need than an independent well owner. So there's a certain segment out there which I feel is important to be in there, and I think everybody on here feels that there's a certain segment that they feel needs to be in there. So, I mean, I do think we need to have it down something small like the 15. I'm for that, but I think we do need to tweak it a little bit more.
I agree that it does need to be tweaked a little bit more. I'm a little uncomfortable supporting if we get to a vote, supporting the motion, because the motion is pretty rigid on what's happening. And I'm not sure we have everything ironed out as far as the details, the total number of stakeholder groups and so forth. It's not 5. I don't think it's
what
more
would
than
be
that.
maybe a good next step is to send it back to the executive committee saying, bring us a proposal that clearly outlines how we're meeting all of those groups. I think that's a kind of better working step of bring back, because we don't need anything yet. I started way early. I started 12 months early. So we have plenty of time to kind of figure it out.
One minor point there I didn't quite get across, and that is, I know, Perrette, you were saying that, yes, we can have people presented to this board that we can then turn around and reject because we're not getting the diversity. But that's not a comfortable thing for anybody on the board to do because then we're rejecting individuals out there. I'd rather see something structured so that we know we're getting that diversity. And honestly, I'm, and that way we're not likely to turn somebody away. I don't like to be in a position on this board looking at another committee and saying, we don't like what you're doing there, what you suggested. I think that's not the way the process should work. So
I
think
hear you.
I think
Yeah.
it's important to go forth and have this really laid out clear what we want. And I would prefer we did go ahead with a motion right now either on that. I think it does need to be worked out.
I understand that we're not taking action on it today, but if I would like to get the legal counsel to weigh in, could the motion be that we're providing direction to proceed with this as a plan to have agendized a future meeting, but that's the direction we'd like to proceed with? Is that appropriate?
I think it's I don't know that we even need motion. If the board says executive committee, we don't like I don't think the current proposal is the best it can be, go back and bring back something that incorporates all of the more clear pathway to include all of those groups that are called out in our JPA, bring back another
Something
version
that
of
has structure, or
something.
framework that
Right. I
that
think
basically
I think
ensures
that's a
representation.
great one, and then executive committee can,
But what that
and work
is,
on-
we don't know yet. And
Yeah.
I think the motion was a little too stern on the 5 and so forth, because it might wind up needing to be 6 or something like that. So not sure.
I think with the motion, I said we can take that as direction, consideration of what you're, trying to achieve here, I think, in the spirit as we consider what to do.
well, for the record, we need a motion that is, if you want to make a motion, it needs to be very clear, and then we can't not do it. If you want to a friendly amendment to making it a little broader, I think that would be helpful.
Reed's going to step in here real quick.
Sure. Don't need to watch everybody struggle with parliamentary procedure. It really is up to you. The agenda simply said provide feedback and direction. You can do that just orally. You can also make a motion to do that. To the extent that you make a motion in that context, it is a narrower, like it confines staff to what the motion says versus taking some broader context from the feedback and direction. So there's ways to deal with that. A friendly amendment, you could simply withdraw your motion with the consent of the person who made the second. Everyone could take their hands off of making motions and provide feedback, or you can simply clarify the motion. So it's either one. It's just a matter of how we want to skin the cat.
What I'll do is I'll clarify the motion and I'll reword it to proceed with the recommendations to make the committee smaller, but to include a structure that ensures municipal well operators, disadvantaged communities and housing, agriculture, environmental, and county and city government are included within the structure of the advisory committee as standalone members.
That's agreeable with a second.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. There's been a motion, a second.
Public comment.
Let's go out to public. Any public comments? Mr. Groot.
Thank you, Norm Group for Farm Bureau. I wholly support the change of reducing the number. For those of us who have been on the advisory committee or an alternate since the beginning, it's become increasingly painful to see, first of all, how we quorum, but second, how many people are needed to get there. And so I think this is a good move in the right direction. My comment here, and then I have a question. My comment here is that from my experience as chair of another advisory committee, where we have very delineated seats for stakeholders, diversified like what we're trying to do here, it becomes increasingly difficult to qualify people and get people to involve and do that. We've had a number of vacant seats on that advisory committee and a lot of turnover simply because it's very hard to get people and individuals in those confined seat designations, excuse me, to volunteer. It's a volunteer situation. So I would caution that you don't necessarily make it so rigid, but I do believe that we need to have great stakeholder representation. That's really what made the advisory committee in the beginning work really well when we were deciding some really important policy decisions as this agency was getting off the ground. So I caution making it so rigid with designated seats that it becomes difficult and you have too many vacancies. My question is, if we're appointing this from the implementation committees, I'm assuming that those are members of the implementation committee and that they cannot go outside the members of the implementation committee to find those nominated individuals?
It came up at the executive committee and it was undecided. We saw value, or the committee saw pros and cons for either. So I think those are the details that we just wanted to get first, like, oh yeah, it's the right direction. Let's go back and work more on. Both had some attraction of maybe it should be, but also expanding it to people, but then understanding what's happening at the implementation committee is a value to bring forward. So there was a lot of that, and it's been a great discussion at that level. So I think, yeah, good question.
All right.
We don't
thank
know
you.
yet.
Thank you, Mr. Groot. Is there anyone online?
There are no hands raised.
All right, thank you. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right. With that, we'll vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we're going overtime here. This is a very aggressive agenda that we have today. So those that can stay, I hope we can stay and listen on. We're going to move on to staff reports and 7.1 and Perrette.
I'm going to make this really easy for you. I don't need to add a whole lot to any of them. So we can kind of more go if you have any questions, comments. One under 7.1, I will be attending the Aqua. My brain is not working anymore. The California Water Agencies Association Conference in Palm Desert at the beginning of December here. So I can bring back some report from there to you. And I think that's the only thing I need to say under 7.1.
Okay, questions, comments from the board? From the public? All right, we'll move on to 7.2, financial reports for period ending August 31st, 2024.
Still early on, only 2 months into. Also, Budget Finance Committee didn't meet, so they did not get to review this, and I didn't want to hold it up until they meet in December. So it came directly to you, but no big surprises there.
Any comments from the board on the financial report from August from the public?
No hands are raised.
Okay, thank you. 7.3, the GSP 5-year evaluation.
So Sarah, that was supposed to be you. Do you want to take just a few minutes to update the board where they can find lots of reading?
Yes, thank you. So as you may know, the 5-year periodic evaluation of the 2020 GSP for the 1,8400-foot aquifer subbasin is due to DWR in January. And there's no required public comment period for a periodic evaluation. However, we did want to make the materials available for public review at the earliest possible time. So we've begun posting materials on the 1,8400-foot aquifer subbasin webpage on our website. There's a tab at the bottom. Sorry, my computer shut down. I was going to show you how to find it. But you can find that information on our website, and just wanted to let you know that it's there and available. There are some chapters or sections that are still forthcoming, but there is quite a bit there for your information.
And if we talked, Perrette, those are like individually listed, right? It's not all one document that you
They're
pick up.
section,
So
section by section.
section by
different things.
section, so you don't
Yeah.
have to download
Yeah.
everything. Your
And we are
computer-
using our website to post as much as we can what we think is relevant to you, but also to public. So it is constantly being updated. So go there and find good reads for those sleepless nights.
Anything from the board on that? Any questions from the board on that? Anything from the public on the GSP update on the website?
No hands are raised.
Super, thank you. Work plan status for fiscal year 2025.
It's there for your reading pleasure. I am a month late. I wanted to bring it to you in October because that was as of September 30th. But we're continuing to do what we started last year, that every quarter you get an update with how are we progressing on that work plan activities.
Yeah, any comments from the board on the work plan? Anything from the public on the work plan?
No hands are raised.
All right. How about the grant activity status report?
Similar thing to the work plan quarterly. We have 3 grants and you get to see what are we getting state to pay for.
All right. Any questions on the grants? What about from the public?
No hands are raised.
All right. Any director reports? Okay, you guys can see a list there of letters that were received. They're links on the site there, so you can open the letters and read them. There have been more letters recently, and they will come out for on the next meeting's agenda. As far as number 10, community relations, the newsletter went out the 10th of November. I'm sorry, the 22nd of November. Going out the 22nd of
October.
November?
October.
Sorry.
It's past 5 o'clock.
And then there's the Monterey County Now article that was out there,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah, it was about the multi-benefit land repurposing efforts we're doing in partnership.
All right. Future items, any future items for staff? No? There's a meetings and event calendar for upcoming meetings. And with that, we will adjourn. Thank you for.
Until January, no meeting in December.
Till
So
January.
come here in December.
Thank you for your patience.
Thank you.